Sie hören nun von den Medientagen München 2009 von BDZV und VBZV Printgipfel, Verlage am Wendepunkt.
Hi, Jeff, this is Frank. I can see you, and I think you can see me as well, can't you?
Yes.
And we understand you. This is great. How's it going in New York?
Very good, thank you. I'm sorry. Es tut mir sehr leid, dass I can't be there today, but I'm grateful you have me in on Skype anyway.
It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. I hope you have a cup of coffee somewhere, what we can't see on your desk. Is this your office, what we can see in the back? This
is my home office, yes.
Okay. You're now connected to the Media Days Munich, as you know. It's the print summit, and I already introduced you to the audience. It's about 500 journalists, editors-in-chiefs, publishers, media managers, and so on from all around Germany. We are all curious now about listening to your keynote. So, Jeff, please.
Vielen Dank. Es tut mir sehr leid, dass mein Deutsch so schlimm ist, also muss ich Englisch sprechen. And I'm very sorry that I'm not in Munich with you. I couldn't be. I hope it was explained that I had surgery a few weeks ago and couldn't. You can read far more detail than you'd like on my blog about that. I'm also very sorry not to be there because every time I go to Germany, I have seen in the past a lot to learn and a lot of development going on and a lot of new ideas that work there differently from here. The fact that Burda has invested in GLAM, I think, is something that American media companies didn't get. Holtzbrink has its laboratory. Axel Springer has an impressive amount of its revenue now in digital, which American companies don't have. Kai Diekmann has not only his Vado, but now his blog. Watts has done, I think, things in local that beat anything happening in the US. There's a great amount of innovation happening in Germany. However, if I may be so bold, I will now also say that I'm worried about the talk that I hear from the German media world. I'm worried about the effort to protect the old model. I'm worried about treating Google as an enemy. And I'm worried that means that perhaps the market doesn't understand, I think, what's really going on and the opportunities that exist. I would argue that Google is not an enemy. Google is a model for where we should be seeing how to use the internet. That might sound like an advertisement for my book, Was würde Google tun? And in a sense it is, because that's where that book idea started, was talking to a room of media people such as you to say that rather than viewing aggregators and Google and such as an enemy, we really should be trying to see how they're succeeding so well and to follow their model. There is very simply an entirely new business reality to media. Efforts to protect the old models will not work. And I think that's what I'm seeing now as the financial crisis has come around the world and to media and in Europe and in Germany. I see a lot of this kind of talk, and it worries me because I think that it starts to affect the innovation and the entrepreneurship that's going to go on there. We have an entirely new structure of media, and here's how I like to look at it. We had a content economy when we could obviously sell many copies of anything we created. Now we have a link economy where there's the need for only one copy of anything online. It is the links to that content that give it value. On the internet, content with no links has no value. It gains value as it gains links. And thus, I argue, Google and other aggregators like it, I work with one called Daylife, plus blogs, plus Twitter streams, all add value to content when they send links to it. There are a few imperatives, a few requirements of this link economy. The first is that you have to have your content open to the world. If you're not searchable, you will not be found. So talk of going behind paywalls, I think, is dangerous because you potentially lose audience, you lose discovery. and you have competitors out there, no limit of competitors who will be free. The link economy also requires, I think, that you take advantage of a new kind of efficiency. You have to specialize. You do what you do best and link to the rest. Media companies cannot be all things to all people anymore. We have to specialize and find a highly targeted business in this media world. It is a smaller business, but it is a targeted, efficient, effective, and profitable business. Finally, the third rule of the link economy is that he or she who gets the links is the one who has to monetize them. So all this talk about saying to Google that you owe us money because you use our content. Well, no, I disagree with that. Google is sending you links, and that is the value you get. Once you get those links, once you get that audience, what you do with them is your responsibility. And so the question really becomes how you take advantage of that. So I'm troubled to see the word of Angela Merkel looking at new copyright laws. Same thing we have here in the US. I think that attempts to protect an old model in a new structure of media. At the City University of New York, where I teach, we were in the middle of a big project on new business models for news. And the markets, of course, are different in Germany and in the US, but I think there are some similarities. We found that hyper-local sites covering a small town, 50,000 people, were bringing in between $100,000 and $200,000 advertising revenue. And these were journalists who, frankly, are not good at business and don't know how to sell ads. Even so, they were getting a real business. As we looked at how to see what happens in this market, we imagined the worst happening. We imagined a metropolitan paper, a regional paper, dying. We don't want to kill it, but everyone says, what happens if this paper dies? So we looked at that. We picked a market the size of Boston in the US, 5 million people. We saw that if you had these successful blogs of 50,000 people each earning money, let's say there's 100 of them in the marketplace. We asked, how can you improve their value? Well, one thing you can do is improve the services they sell to their local advertisers. The other thing you can do is to create networks like GLAM that enable those sites to get regional advertising and then highly local advertising, 4 or 5 towns or just football fans or something like that. We believe that these blogs could bring in as much as $300,000 a year with the right structure. We then did see the opportunity for a news organization in these markets, but it's much smaller and it has new roles. It still does reporting and journalism, but now it must work collaboratively with this network of sites and with their audience. It must find the efficiency that online brings to reduce the cost structure. We saw a need to create networks, but in the end, the big lesson, I think, was that the future of media is not going to be one company or another company, a bad company to a good company owning one product. It's going to be an ecosystem of many different players operating under many different models that together become a new structure of media. So in that new structure, the opportunity we have is not to own everything anymore. The opportunity we have is not to have to pay for everyone anymore and the cost that comes with that. The opportunity is to work as a platform like Google and in networks like GLAM that bring together value in far more efficient ways. So we have to rethink what we are as media companies, and that is very hard because the future is a bunch of very small companies, and we're used to being very big. And I'm not sure it's possible to go from big to small. It's very painful. There's a lot of jobs lost in that process. But there's also the opportunity, I think, to find ways to invest in this new structure. We also have to think in very distributed terms. There was a college student who said to a researcher here in the US in the New York Times a year ago, if the news is that important, it will find me. And that's kind of frightening for us in media, I think, because we're used to the customers coming to us. The readers came to us. Instead, we now have to go to them. And we have to think in different ways about what we do. And of course, we do this now. We have RSS feeds. We have some of our writers are on Twitter. But I think we have to look at the future of an entirely new structure of the internet. If what we're going through so far is new